All right, by show of hands, how many of you have ever made an excuse in your life? How many of you made an excuse today already? How many of the children in the room you have made the excuse so you don't have to clean your room? Oh, I saw some glares. I saw some glares and some nudges. One of our children, who we shall not name, every time we have something for them to do, this is the response. Oh, I got to go to the bathroom. Every time. Let's be real. We have all made excuses in our life. Maybe you've made this excuse, and raise your hand if you've made these excuses as I say them. How many of you have ever said, I'm too busy? Or I don't have time? Or someone else would do better at that than me. You ever done that one before? Or you know what? Now is not a good time. Right? The people who call you on the phone or they come to your door. You know what? Now is not a good time. Which means I just don't really want to talk to you. Or maybe you've done this one before. Maybe I'm too young. Have you ever used that excuse? Or what about I'm too old? I want you to turn to your neighbor and I want you to tell them, stop making excuses. Sounds like we got plenty of excuse makers in the house today. Let me give you a definition of what an excuse is. An excuse is a reason, real or imagined, given to avoid responsibility, action, or blame. It often sounds like a justification, but in many cases, it's a way to cover up fear, laziness, insecurity, or disobedience. From a biblical perspective, this is what an excuse can often be. We are making a barrier between us and obedience to God. So maybe in a simpler way, when God says, go, we say no. Have any of you ever done that before? When God says go, do something, act on something, be this person, be this kind of dad, be this kind of brother or sister or mom or employee, but we say no. We are all capable of making excuses. And sometimes we get these excuses and they prevent us from reaching what God has for us in our life. You see, God has a special calling, an anointing, and a purpose for each and every person in here, whether you're young or whether you're old. But oftentimes we throw those excuses back at God saying, no, I can't do that. Now, if you are a person who has made excuses, I just want to let you know, you're in good company. I think we've all said that we are excuse makers, correct? But even people in the Bible made excuses. One of the most famous people in the Bible is a man by the name of Moses, and he was a fantastic excuse maker. God called him, and he just threw excuses back at God over and over and over again. I want to give you a little bit of background information just so you know where we're going, but we are going to be in Exodus chapter 3. The Hebrews, they'd been in slavery for over 400 years in the land of Egypt. As they've been in this land of Egypt, they have had to undergo a lot of difficulties, a lot of tragedy, a lot of triumph. They are struggling because of all the issues that they're having. Now, here's what you need to know about Moses. Moses has this interesting story. He is born a slave. However, by the grace of God, he was adopted by a princess in Egypt. As this princess adopted him, he now is raised as royalty in this land. But here's the problem. He was a slave but yet royalty. And he knew where he came from. So he grew up conflicted. He didn't know, what should I do? Whose side should I be? My people are enslaved, but yet I live in royalty. And as he got older, he had an encounter with some people who were mistreating other Hebrews. And so because of this, he intervened, and by accident, or maybe by intention, he killed somebody. This became known, and because of this, he actually left his royal position, he left the royal family, and he ran away to the desert. And now he's been in the desert for 40 years. 40 years in the desert. And then he has this incredible encounter. One day, as he's being a shepherd and he's going out looking for his flock, taking care of the flock, he sees this bush that is burning. And he says, this is interesting. Why isn't this bush burning up? So he goes over to the bush and he checks it out, and all of a sudden this bush starts talking to him. So he's like going, what in the world? How is this bush talking to me? The Bible tells us he takes off his sandals, he gets down, like he knows that God is speaking to him. And so they start to have this conversation, and God has now called him to go back from the place he ran away from, to go back from the place where he was a murderer, to set the Hebrew people free. What a calling to be put on your life. What a calling to be put on your life when you are a murderer, when you have left, when you've run away in fear. But God calls him and says, you're going to go back. We're going to be in Exodus chapter 3, starting verse 9. It says, look, the cry of the people of Israel has reached me, and I have seen how harshly the Egyptians abuse them. Now go, for I am sending you to Pharaoh. You must lead my people Israel out of Egypt. So here's the first excuse. Who am I? Who am I? This is basically saying, I am not good enough. God, why would you ever call me? I am not good enough to do any of this. Verse 11. Moses protested to God, who am I to appear before Pharaoh? Who am I to lead the people of Israel out of Egypt? Maybe some of the adults in the room, maybe you have made this excuse before with God. God, I've made too many mistakes. I've done too many things in my past. I can't be used by you. Like, I've really screwed up. Or maybe you said an excuse like this. God, I'm just a stay-at-home parent. Like, how are you going to use me? Like, I can't be used by you. I'm just a stay-at-home parent. Or maybe for our younger people, you're like, I'm just a kid. I'm just a student. How could God use me? Who am I? And this is what God responds back to him. Verse 12. God answered, I will be with you, and this is your sign that I am the one who has sent you. When you have brought the people out of Egypt, you will worship God at this very mountain. So this is what God responds when he says, who am I? And he says, I will be with you. I will be with you. It means you're not alone. You're not doing this on your own. Most of us are pretty quick when we feel like God is calling us to do something big that we identify our weaknesses before God. Oh, God, I can't do this because of X, Y, Z. I got this. I got issues. I got a past, or I'm not very good at this. I'm unqualified in this. And we put all of these issues, all of our weaknesses back to God. But here's what you need to understand. Your identity is not in your weaknesses. Your identity is in God's presence. So when you say, who am I? His response back to you is, I will be with you. I will be with you. God doesn't need you to be great, but he does need you to be willing. He does need you to be willing, because when he's with you, that's all you'll need. Excuse number 2. What if they ask, who sent me? In other words, I don't have all the answers. You ever felt like that before? I don't have all the answers. What if somebody asks me questions that I don't have the answers for? Verse 13. Moses protested, if I go to the people of Israel and tell them, the God of your ancestors has sent me to you, they will ask me, what is his name? Then what should I tell them? How many of you have ever used an excuse like this before? What if they ask me a Bible question and I don't have the answer? You ever used that one before? Like, what if somebody, I want to tell somebody about God, but what if they ask me a question that I just don't have the answer for? We've all used this probably. Or maybe this, like, I don't really know how to share my faith. Like, I've never done that before. What does that look like? And then this is the one I hear a lot from people. Well, like, it's easy for you because you're the pastor. You're like, I'm not a pastor, so how am I supposed to be able to do these things? Listen, to be able to tell somebody about Jesus, you definitely do not have to be a pastor. You just have to be willing to share who God is in your life and share what God has done for you. Here's what God responds back to Moses. Verse 14. God replied to Moses, I am who I am. Say this to the people of Israel. I am has sent me to you. God also said to Moses, say this to the people of Israel, Yahweh, the God of your ancestors, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob has sent me to you. You don't have to know all the answers, but here's what you do need to know. You need to know the one that does. So do you know the one that does? People ask me questions all the time, and I'll be like, I need to look into that one. I need to spend a little bit of time to kind of research that, get in the Bible, see what this says, maybe even spend time in prayer on this. Like, I may not have all the answers, but I know who does. And so I need to go back to him. So when the question is, well, who sent me? Well, God sent me. And if God sent me, God's also going to empower me. He's going to give me the resources, the tools, the answers to help me serve him. Number 3, what if they don't believe me? What if they don't believe me? So God has called Moses. You're going to go back to the people. And remember, Moses left in shame. Moses left in fear. He was a slave, raised in royalty, but then he became a murderer, and then he left in fear. So he's going to go back, and now these people are going to ask him, well, who has qualified you? Why are you here? Like, we know your story. Have any of you ever been afraid of being rejected? I mean, let's be real. Now, maybe some of you have been romantically rejected by somebody before. Maybe you've just been rejected by a friend. You're trying to become a friend with somebody, or you are a friend, and they're like, you know what, this ain't working out anymore. And little kids, we say, like, I don't want to be your friend anymore. You're not my friend. Right? And we get these kind of, what if they reject me? What if they say they don't want to be with me? What if they don't like me anymore? Exodus 4, verse 1. Moses protested again. What if they won't believe me or listen to me? What if they say the Lord never appeared to you? What if they question the very call on your life? What if they question if you have heard from the Lord or not? And what if they throw your past in your face? What if people laugh at me for being a Christian? What if people remind me of my past? What if people don't take me seriously? What if I fail? Have any of you ever been concerned about failing before? Maybe it's at your job. Maybe it was in a class. Maybe it was, something else in your life. Maybe on a sports team and you feel like you failed. What if I fail? And here's God's response. We don't have time to read through all these verses today, but in chapter 4, verses 2 through 9, God gives 3 signs to Moses. The first one is he takes the staff that Moses had in his hand, and he says, throw it on the ground, and it turns into a snake. Then he tells him, pick it up, and then it turns back into a staff. This is a sign that God has power over nature and fear. But this is also to remind us that God can use what you already have. Did you catch that? Moses already had that staff with him. What do you have with you that if in the hand of God, if the power of God is upon it, that when he puts his blessing upon it, what will it turn into? How will he use it as a sign for him? The second sign is that God tells Moses, take your hand and I want you to put your hand under your cloak. And he does this, and then his hands turns to like leprous, which means like diseased, and Moses kind of gets scared and all of this. And then God says, okay, put it back under, and okay, and then his hand becomes whole again. This is saying that God has power over the human body. This is also saying that God can heal, but God can also afflict. This is showing the power of God. And then the third sign is he tells him that, hey, you will turn the Nile water to blood. This is a sign to show that God has power over the nations and over the resources of the nations. Oftentimes in life, we feel like, hey, I got to prove myself. I've got to do this. I've got to do that. Or if I'm not good enough, or I'm not, we feel like we have to prove ourselves. Can I just tell you, will you just let God work through you? The things that you think are your weaknesses, the things that you think like are holding you back, if you will just turn those over to God, let him work through you. Let his power work through you. Let your life and your love be a sign to others. Let your changed life, let your forgiving heart, let the peace in the midst of the storm show other people the power of God. Number 4, our fourth excuse is, I'm not a good speaker. I'm not talented enough to do this. Any of you ever said something like that? I'm not talented enough. Verse 10, but Moses pleaded with the Lord, oh Lord, I'm not very good with words. I've never have been. I'm not now. Even though you have spoken to me, I get tongue-tied and my words get tangled. I'm slow of speech and tongue. So, here like Moses is just like, listen, God, like, I really struggle to speak. Like, I don't think I should be in the speaking profession. I don't think that I should be in front of people. Like, I'm not very good at this. God, like, I'm slow. People wonder, like, did Moses have a speech impediment? Did he have a stutter? Something so much, though, that he had a big insecurity about it, that he didn't want to be used. These are some of the excuses that we use. Oh, God, I'm not very good with words. Or here's one that's been growing in popularity over the last several decades. I'm too shy. I'm too shy. Or I can't lead a life group because I'm not that great with people. Like I get nervous in talking to people. Or maybe we throw an excuse like this. Maybe God has put a gifting on you for worship or to be a singer or something, and you're like, well, I don't want to be on stage. I don't want people to like look at me. Listen, if God's given you a gift, use it. Use it for his glory. So here's God's response back to Moses for I'm not a good speaker. Verse 11. Then the Lord asked Moses, who makes a person's mouth? Who decides whether people speak or do not speak? Or hear or do not hear? Or see or do not see? Is it not I, the Lord? Now go, I will be with you as you speak, and I will instruct you in what to say. God has made your mouth. He has made your personality. He's made your voice, and he can use it. But are you willing? Are you willing, God, to use you? Now, you may never be the public speaker. Maybe that's not what he's called you to do. But God can use you as a mouthpiece, whether that's with your friends, your classmates, whether that's your team, whether that's in your workplace and your family. God can use how you are exactly wired. Here's the deal. God doesn't want your perfection, but he does want your participation. He does want you to be authentic to who he's called you to be. He does want you to be used by him. And here's a myth. We're going to take a moment and be a myth buster. God does not only use extroverts. If you are a self-identified extrovert, please raise your hand. If you don't see somebody's hand raised that you think should be, maybe give them a little nudge or stare them down. When people are extroverts, we look to them often to be the ones that, okay, when they come into the room, they're going to kind of take charge. They're going to be the person. They're going to fill this place with, just with laughter or whatever. Like they're going to have the personality that fills the room and all of that. Now, let's switch. How many of you would say you are an introvert? Raise your hand. Okay. Now, how many of you would say you're right in the middle? Like you're right in the middle. Okay. I stand here today as a pastor for almost 20 years, and I am not an extrovert at all. People tire me out. Right? Like some people, they go into that room of people and like it gives them energy and they're like pumped and amped for the rest of the day. For me, after church, I'm like, man, I need a nap. Whew, people suck the life out of me, right? Like it's just my wiring is different. But I'm here to tell you that whatever your wiring is, that God can use you. He can use you. God uses people who are available to him. So are you making yourself available? And you're like, yeah, but what if I don't know? Listen, there's so many scriptures that tell us that the Holy Spirit is our comforter, our counselor, that he empowers us, that he gives us this, he gives us that we are not alone, that he is with us in every moment of our life. Here's excuse number 5. Please send someone else. I just don't want to do it. Now, how many of you in this room, you have ever just been like, I don't want to do it, right? It could be something as simple. I don't want to pick up the dog doo-doo, right? I don't want to do it. Or I don't want to do the laundry, even though there's 5 mountains of laundry in my household. Or even though I don't want to make my bed. I don't want to go to work. Whatever it is, I don't want to do it. Verse 13. But Moses again pleaded, Lord, please send anybody else. Please send anyone else. Now, maybe you've had a conversation like this with the Lord before where you were just like, God, please send the ants that's crawling across the ground right now. I don't care. Send somebody else. I am not good enough. And God, just to be quite honest, I don't want to. I don't want to. Modern excuses that we put before God. I'm just too tired. I'm just too tired. Or, you know what, I'm really comfortable with life right now. Like, things are going pretty good. So, I don't want to really rock the boat and do anything new. Like, I'm just going to keep it right here. This is what God says back, verse 14. Then the Lord became angry with Moses. Uh-oh. All right, he said. What about your brother, Aaron the Levite? I know he speaks well. And look, he's already on the way to meet you now. He will be delighted to see you. Talk to him and put the words in his mouth. I will be with both of you as you speak, and I will instruct you both in what to do. Aaron will be your spokesman to the people. He will be your mouthpiece, and you will stand in the place of God for him, telling him what to say. Now, you may be praying to God that God sends you somebody to help, and whatever that may be. God may bring other people to support you, but your calling never changed. God may bring some people alongside of you for a season, for a reason, for a lifetime, whatever it may be, to help support, to go after the goal, whatever it may be. But it doesn't change the fact that God has a calling on your life. So don't just, you do it. You do it. No, God has a calling on each of our lives. But God says, hey, I'm going to send your brother. In fact, he's already on his way because I knew you already and I knew you were going to have excuses. So he's already on his way. So when you see him, you're going to work this out, and I'm going to empower both of you. You know, sometimes in life, people make excuses like this. You know, I can't work in kids ministry. You can come up with any excuse you want to. I'm too old. I'm too young. I'm not an extrovert. I'm whatever excuse I don't want to. Maybe God has been stirring in you that it's time for you to lead a life group. It's time for you to do something. And you're like, yeah, but I don't want to. I don't feel qualified. What about my past? We got all these excuses, but God's calling doesn't change on you. Maybe God is even nudging some of you in this room on the financial end. You're like, yeah, I know that I should be giving. I know I should be a generous person. I know I should be tithing. I know I should be, but I don't know where to start. I don't know how to do this. And so but can I just tell you, you got to start somewhere. You got to start somewhere. Or maybe it's something like this. God tells you to invite a friend. You could be a teenager, an adult, a kid in the room. God and stirs your heart like, hey, I should invite this friend to come to church. But you're like, what if they say no? What if they think I'm weird because I asked them? I think it's weird that if you know God and you don't invite people, you have the greatest resource ever created and you wouldn't want to invite a family member or friend to join in on that because there's enough of them to go around. So why wouldn't we do that? Or maybe God has called you to forgive somebody, but you're like, they don't deserve it. Is it just an excuse? Because when I read in the scriptures, it says that we're to forgive as we've been forgiven, and that if we don't forgive, he doesn't forgive us. We're really good at making excuses. Every excuse is a spiritual crossroads in our life. Will you trust yourself or will you trust God? Every excuse that you make could be a spiritual crossroad. Will you trust yourself or will you trust God in you? Because God has a calling on each of you. Behind every excuse is usually a fear, a lie, or a comfort zone that we're unwilling to leave. But here's what we need to know. God is greater than every excuse, and his presence is the antidote to our insecurity. Turn to your neighbor and say, you need the antidote. God's presence is the antidote to every insecurity and excuse that we make. Now, making an excuse with God may ease your conscience, but it will rob you of your calling. It may be pretty easy to make the excuse or to run from the call that God has put on your life, but it's robbing you from fulfilling the call that he's put on you. So here's my question to you. What excuse are you giving God right now in your life? Is it with your family? Is it with being a dad? Is it with being a mom? Is it with being a spouse? Is it with being a friend, a student, an employee, a boss? What excuse are you making in your life right now? God isn't asking for your perfection, but he is asking for your participation. He's not looking for your ability. He's looking for your availability. God will use those who are willing. And I want you to take a moment. I just want you to imagine that if every single person in this room, if we stopped making excuses, what could God do? What could God do? I could tell you there'd be a lot more people going to heaven. There'd be a lot more families come together, restoration, wholeness. There'd be a lot more addiction broken off of people. There'd be a lot more emotional healing taking place. You see, when we stop making excuses and start going to the Savior, God can do incredible things.